Last year, I spent 3 months in a program called 10,000 Small Businesses, sponsored by Goldman Sachs, to teach small businesses how to become large businesses. And what I learned caused me to believe that Goldman Sachs is probably the best of class in the investment field. And so I strive, as a result, to beat them at what they do. And let me give you a little background on what Goldman Sachs program is about. They have a program called a growth strategy program. To invest in that program, you got to bring $10 million to the table, and they will then invest your money. They'll charge you a fee of 1.9%. So on your $10 million, you're going to pay a monthly fee that amounts to an annual charge of $190,000 for them to manage your portfolio. Now, their past record, over the last 5 years, they've achieved an average return on your $10 million of 11.5%. So you're getting back each year about 1.15 million a year off of your 10 million. So that's their program. So I look at that and say, that's the gold medal. If you can beat that, you get the gold medal. So that's what I have strived to do. Now, you also need to understand that Goldman Sachs has a substantial program to make that work. According to my Google search, they have a staff of 46,500 people that work on your behalf if you're in their program to gather knowledge so that they can beat the market consistently. They spend, basically, I went to their earnings statement, their income statement, and I found they spend about $10,466,000 a month to make sure that you outperform the market as a part of this strategy. Now, this is their whole, they spend that much on their whole system, which all supports their ability to manage money. So that's the gold standard that I'm trying to beat or match in my best of us investors portfolio. Now, we have a little bit of a different program. We have 3 employees plus Samantha. Now, this is the big change that we've made in our business, and that is Samantha. She is an AI agent that I built because I said, if I'm going to compete with Goldman Sachs, or at least try to compete with them, I've got to do what they do best, and that is gather and interpret knowledge. And I realize that's what AI is. It is my access to all the knowledge in the world on any given stock. And if I can access that knowledge and then supplement that knowledge with current data, and if I know where to go to find the data, I can compete with Goldman Sachs and potentially beat them. I'm not allowed to say on this video exactly how I'm doing against Goldman Sachs because Google does not like me to put anything, Google is YouTube, any unsubstantiated claims. And I can't substantiate it because I'm not in the program where I submit my monthly statements or quarterly statements to the NASDA so that they can verify that it's unclaimed. But I'd say I'm doing quite well. And I'll give you an opportunity to check that out. Let's compare where we can. As I said, Goldman Sachs has 46,500 employees and spends $10 million a month to achieve their objectives. At Best of Us Investors, we have 3 employees. That's me, Mark, and Trent. And then we have Samantha. And Samantha is our ace in the hole because what Samantha does is gives me access to all the knowledge in the world on any stock that I want to do research on. And then I can supplement that information that is available on the internet with data that I buy that gives me more timely information than what is available on the internet. I spend about $20,000 a month for that information and Samantha and my salaries for myself, Mark, and Trent. And so I spend substantially less than Goldman Sachs does. But what I think I can't say, but I'd like to invite you to come to my website, Best of Us Investors, and come to my tell sheet. Now, my tell sheet is something that Deion Sanders taught me. If you don't know who Deion Sanders is, he is probably one of the best defensive backs that the NFL has ever said. And what Deion said was, what I did was create a tell program. And he says, I believed that every wide receiver that I had to cover would do things differently when they stepped up to the line as to whether they were going to block me or they were going to go for a short pass or a long pass. And all I had to do was to figure out their tells. And then I could know where they're going and what they're going to do, and thus be there and either block the pass or intercept it. So taking that, I said, I believe companies do that as well. And if I can build a tell sheet that tells me which companies are going to grow exponentially over the next several years. What I did was create a template. What does a growth company look like? And I said, well, who are the best growth companies that I've ever seen? And I said, well, that's got to be Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple, and NVIDIA. So what I did was create a template of what they looked like before they took off. In other words, what was the growth in their revenue rate before they took off? What was the growth in their earnings? And then what other things did they do that would give me a tell as to what was going to happen next? And so I built that into my prompt that I give to Samantha, and that's how we beat the market. Okay, so or outperform the market. That's the words Goldman Sachs use. So that's the words I'll use. And then, how do I outperform Goldman Sachs? Well, I recognize that Goldman Sachs has 46,500 employees, and they have an enormous budget, and they have a huge infrastructure that they have to support, and I don't. So what does that do? Well, I've put it back into pro football terms. It makes me more nimble. It makes me, I don't have to go to the coach in the sidelines and say, oh, okay, this is what I see. This is what, can I put all my effort towards this program? I don't have to do that like a Goldman Sachs analyst would have to do. I also can invest in smaller companies. So again, using our football analogy, I can go play high school teams. Okay, I can go to the small college, even though I'm a pro athlete. So I'm more nimble. I'm more flexible than Goldman Sachs is. So I can get more wins than they can. Again, I'm playing high school teams. They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to go that low. They're not allowed to play on the college. They have to play at the professional level. And part of it is because of the financial burden that they have to support and all the rules that they have to follow. They're not allowed to buy on the pink sheets, okay? They have to answer to a board of directors. I don't. So that's how that's how Best of Us investors approach investing in the stock market today. Again, I cannot make claims on this video as to how I'm doing against Goldman Sachs, my gold standard. But I want to invite you to my website, Best of Us Investors. Go to the Gold channel, go find my tell sheet, see what I've done, come to our Stock Talk. It's every Friday at the close of the market. And then also come to our Discord and ask direct questions. On the Discord, I can tell you anything. But on Google, YouTube, I'm not allowed to. No unsubstantiated claims. With that, come visit us and let me show you a way to outperform the market and to outperform Goldman Sachs. My invitation, my personal invitation to you